Greetings and welcome to Pinball Help. Mike here. Today I'm obviously not working on a pinball machine, I'm working on a mechanical machine. This is the 1932 to 1987 Harvard Standard Metal Typer. And I'll show you, this is the inside of it. The outside of it looks like that right there. It's kind of an old style vending machine where you would put a quarter in and it would punch one of these aluminum tokens and you could emboss it with your own name on it. I'll show you. Let me put it on here. And you can see right there, you can customize the token. And have somebody's name on it. And it would turn and stamp and turn and stamp and turn and stamp at you, so you could personalize it up to 32 letters. So the problem I've been having with this machine is it's really hard to find any resources on it. There's a remedial manual that just covers some basic maintenance, but this game's been sitting for 30 more years, and it's just completely seized up. It's not in bad shape. It is complete. Everything appears to be there, but not everything is moving. So it's taken me like a week soaking it in solvent and spraying it with all kinds of stuff, trying to get it to loosen up enough so I could start to see how the thing worked. There's very little resources on the operation of this game. I only found one other YouTube video which actually showed one working, but it wasn't really a close-up to see the inner workings of how all the gears and everything work. And since I couldn't get everything moving, it's been very hard. So in the absence of that, I've actually had to kind of reverse engineer it and figure it out for myself. So I'm going to document here what I've learned so far with this machine. Now, the way the machine basically works is when it is inactive, when you haven't put a coin in, these levers freely turn. They don't really engage with anything. There's one on the left side and there's one on the right side over here. The left one stamps letters and the right one ejects the token. And it presumably, when it ejects it, it loads another token at the same time. This middle part here, this is supposed to spin freely here, see, like that. And it attaches to the dial in the front of the machine and through these gears right here. And so this is how you select which letter. And these little tines down here have a letter on the underside of each one of them. Now, I finally managed to get this thing to spin. So it does spin, but it's not, it certainly is going to need a little more work, but it does move. And I've actually gotten the tines they were all spring-loaded and they're all loosened up too. So I've got the main core of the machine working. What I don't have working is there's a slide mechanism on the underside of this that moves forward that actually loads and ejects the tokens. That's messed up, and I'm having trouble figuring out how to get down underneath there because it's in a sealed undercarriage that has some other stuff in front of it, so I may actually have to punch out some pins. This machine was not really designed to be user serviceable in any heavy-duty way. I will show you some of the basic service areas that I figured out. So all three of these horizontal bars, they all articulate, and they all tend to rotate. See, these all rotate. There's one in the back that just goes back and forth like this, and I'll show you in a minute why it does that. This one rotates. This middle one rotates to some degree, and it has these little fingers on the end of it right here. And then this one on the bottom spins too. Now, these holes here are oil points. At least that's what I figure. They're not screws or anything, so this is where you would put your lubrication in these little holes up here. So I was putting some PB Blaster in there, and that's what helped loosen everything up. So trying to figure out how the game actually operates and how the coin mechanism works. So the way it is, it's a completely mechanical game. It doesn't need electricity to operate. The only electrical aspect is this one coil, and all the coil does is lock up the mechanism so that you can't use it. When you put in a coin, the coil pulses and it delatches, unlocks the mechanism, and then the mechanism operates until the coin eject things and then it resets. So you'll see these two things right here. There's this and this right here. This articulates when each time you're stamping a letter, this thing goes down and then back up. This right here attaches up to the top. Now, what I suspect is these two things control a counter in the face of the machine that shows you how many letters are left. The leftmost one decrements the counter, 32, 31, 30, because it counts down to how many letters you have left. This one right here probably resets it back to 32. So when you initially start, this thing probably resets it, and then this decrements. And then probably when it gets to the end, this thing drops down, and it pushes this little thing down here down, which keeps this thing from engaging and continuing more. So how does it initially work? It initially works based on this coil, which causes this little thing to step up. Now, let me demonstrate it. Okay, so if you watch right here, when the coil is energized, this little thing comes up ever so slightly. Get that out of the way. So that's the lock position. It comes up. So this, now it's unlocked. So what happens now is this thing will actually engage. Let me show you. Okay, so now it's actually engaged into the thing. Before, this was up a little bit and it was keeping it from engaging. So now, let me show you what happens. Here's the punch. So this goes up and it lifts up this, and it lifts it up to a certain level. Now, I'm having trouble getting it to go all the way up, but it'll go up a little bit higher, and then this thing will slam down, and it's on this little thing here. So it'll slam down, bam, like that. And then this will, and then it'll slam back down on top of it. So this thing just moves over and over, slam, and when this thing comes back down, it goes down underneath it into that position. This mechanism is still not working completely because I think when this thing goes all the way up to the top, it moves this chuck here to turn the token one extra space, and that area is still seized up. So that's why I can't completely follow through on this. So when I have to get underneath the machine, I have to do some more cleaning up of this slide mechanism. There's a big metal piece that slides forward. And I think when this thing gets to the apex, after it stamps it, it controls some of this mechanism in the back and moves it, and it's still seized up. So I'm going to have to get underneath there. So let's look at the other side. The other side is where you eject the token. Okay, and this let me show you something here in the back. You'll see there is this bar right here. It goes back and forth, and when one thing, let me reset this to where it needs to be. Okay, let's go down like that. So when one thing is being used, it pushes this bar over and locks this thing so it won't work. So you can't do both of them at the same time. So you can either do a letter and not eject, and then when it's done, you can pull the eject button in, and this is so you can't pull both of them and probably put the machine into some kind of in-between state. So that's what this thing slides back and forth to do. So when one arm is articulating, it won't allow the other one to go. It's a pretty clever little design there. And then when the arm on the right is pulled, when it is kicked in, this mechanism right here, you pull it, and it controls this thing underneath here, which is connected to a chain, which pulls the whole thing and ejects the coin. I can't get it to work because it's still seized up, so I'm going to have to get in there and take apart more of the machine. Problem is, a lot of these parts are staked into place. There's no set screws. It looks like they just, pounded some kind of a pin in between, to connect this stuff. So once it was in there, it was in there. It was not going anywhere. So I may have to punch it out and then figure out whether I'm going to put a set screw in there or I'm going to put another pin. I'm still doing a little bit of research. I hate to really get destructive on a machine without knowing, getting a little bit of information from other people, but this is what I figured out. So I think I understand the basic operation of the machine now. Now it's just a question of getting it apart and finishing cleaning up some of the things and getting it as nice, smooth condition as I can. So stay tuned for more. I will be sharing with you my progress on this. And until then, thanks very much for watching.